Good morning. I see Michael's here nice and bright and early. Good morning, Michael. Nice to see you. And I see we've got some other people joining as we speak. That's great. So I'm looking forward to sharing some more music with you all today. And we're going to be doing some singing. We're going to be listening to some more music, and we're going to be listening to some more music from Beethoven and learning a little bit more about his life. So that should be a lot of fun for us to be able to do that today. All right, so let's see. Oh, and we have Vicky's joined us too. Good morning, Vicky. And let's see what we're going to start with today. Oh, we have a very important thing to start off with before we carry on. Good morning, Stephen. That's great. And good morning, Josephina. That's wonderful to see you all here. We are going to start with a very important thing, as I just mentioned, with Neva's birthday. I know Neva tunes in a lot to our music classes, and so I hope she's here today because today is her birthday. So happy birthday, Neva. We're all going to sing you happy birthday from all of our own homes here, and hopefully you feel the love. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Neva. Happy birthday to you. Okay, let's see who else has joined in with us today. We have Lily, we have Vera, we have Julian and Catherine, Felix and Iris, welcome. And yes, that's great. So we have a lot of people joining us today. That's really great. And if Neva didn't happen to join us in time for her happy birthday, she can watch it back. So maybe she's busy eating birthday cake for breakfast. Who knows? Okay. So I mentioned in the little description about what we're doing today that we're going to be learning a little bit more about the composer Beethoven that we learned about on Monday. And he had a very, very interesting life, and he was quite eccentric, and he had some really cool things happen in his lifetime. He was born in Germany and in a city called Bonn in 1770. And if you do the math, we talked about this on Monday, that would mean that he was born 250 years ago. So that's a very important birthday for Beethoven, 250. So, and do you know, Canada became a country in 1867. So Beethoven is older than Canada, because he would be about 150 years older than Canada. So that's a very long time ago. So that gives you an idea of how long ago that Beethoven lived, if he's older than Canada. So he was a very musical child, and his dad played music and taught him how to play the piano. And when he was eight, he gave his very first concert. Can you imagine being 8 years old and doing your very, very first musical concert? And then when he was a teenager, people used to hire him to play at parties and be the musical entertainment. So he got really super good at music. And then he got the urge to start writing his own music. And thank goodness that he did, because we have heard such beautiful music from him. And the one thing that we were learning about was that unfortunately poor Beethoven started to become deaf when he was in his 20s. So some of the music he wrote when he was partially deaf, and then some music, as we heard on Monday, he wrote when he was completely deaf, which is unimaginable. If you can imagine turning on the television and then switching the sound off, and then imagining that's how his life was just with no sound, but yet he was writing music that he heard in his head. That's amazing. So I am going to just remind us of the one beautiful piece of piano music that he played. And it's one of those famous tunes that everybody's heard before. And that was the Für Elise. And if you remember, that means for Elise, which was a lady that he really liked. So he wrote her a piece of music, hoping that she would marry him. But she didn't want to marry him, but we still got this beautiful piece. And just to remind you what that was, I won't play it all, just a little bit. The Für Elise sounded like this. So you more than likely have heard that piece of music before, and he wrote that when he could still hear, and I think that it's very beautiful. Oh, I see that Neva is here. Happy birthday, Neva. We sang you a song. I hope you caught it. Otherwise, you can watch it back. Okay, and we have Maddie here. Let's see who else we have. And we have Allegra. And who else do we have? Do a quick scroll down while I can. It doesn't want to scroll. Okay, here we are. Oh, and I see that people are wishing Neva happy birthday, and Yoshi is here too. Wonderful. And Felix knew that it was Für Elise. Well done. So that's good. I'm glad you're all jumping in on the comments. Let's not do any huge, great big lines of emojis or any of the big GIFs, okay? Because that kind of clutters up our chat stream. But you're very welcome to interact and tell me if you know what we're doing. So this next piece of music, I wonder if you have heard this one before. This is a very beautiful piece of music, and I'm not going to tell you what it's called. You may know what it was called, but I want you to listen to it, and I would like you to close your eyes and think about what it makes you think of, okay? So let's see if you can imagine what this piece of music might have been about. And then I'll tell you what a poet a few years after Beethoven died named it, and see if you agree. Here we go. Okay, so that's the first part. It actually goes on for quite a long time, and that would take up like forever, and you guys would probably be asleep if you were closing your eyes. But I'm going to see if anybody put in the comments what they thought that reminded them of. Let's see. Oh, and I see that we have Parker has joined us. That's wonderful. Lots more happy birthdays. Oh, Maddie got it. Moonlight Sonata. Very nice. Okay, great job. Okay, Maddie. So we got Moonlight Sonata. So wonderful. Now, the poet that I was talking about was this piece of music wasn't originally called the Moonlight Sonata. Beethoven actually called it a fantasy sonata, but there was a poet that listened to it, and he was so taken by this piece of music, and he thought that it was just so beautiful. He imagined a boat floating on a lake, actually Lake Lucerne in Switzerland, in the moonlight. And that's what he envisioned when he heard that. And so he nicknamed it the Moonlight Sonata, and it stuck. So I think that's a great name for the piece of music that we just heard. So well done for Maddie for knowing the title. Okay. So I mentioned that Beethoven is quite eccentric. There's lots of stories of things that he did while he in his life. One of the things he did was the piano that I have right now has legs on the floor, and so that it lifts it up off the floor. But Beethoven actually cut the legs off his grand piano and had it on the ground, so that when he was playing it, he could feel the vibrations of the piano through his legs and through his body when he was playing. So that was kind of interesting. It must have looked really strange for people that didn't know why he did that. So that was one of the things that he did. And also he was very particular about how he wanted his coffee. And he wanted exactly 60 beans in his cup of coffee. And he would count them. And it wasn't okay if there were 58 or 59. It had to be 60. And I'm thinking 60 beans in a cup of coffee would be super strong. But maybe that's what he needed to keep him awake when he was writing all that beautiful music. We never know. So yes, and he was also had a bit of a temper, and there's a story that says that when he went out for his dinner at a restaurant, that the waiter brought him the wrong meal, and he was so upset that he was brought the wrong meal that he threw his plate of beef stew at the waiter, and it covered him from head to toe. But the waiter was so surprised by it and then thought, that's a bit of a waste to throw that stew at me. So he actually started putting it in his mouth and tasting the stew because it was so good. He thought Beethoven was wasting it. Anyway, there's a wonderful movie called Beethoven Lives Upstairs, and I'll put the link on the Facebook page because it's a lot of fun if you want to learn more about Beethoven. It's all about a little boy that lives in a house, and they rent a room to Beethoven, and he lives upstairs. And we learn lots and lots about Beethoven through that awesome story. Okay, so on Wednesday, we also learned about the most important 8 notes in history that Beethoven wrote. Let's see if I can jog your memory. Okay. So the most famous and important 8 notes in history were these ones. So isn't that a lot different than the music that we were just listening to, the beautiful floating Moonlight Sonata and the beautiful Fairies? That was so much different. And a lot of people think that it's a completely different mood. So how about if we tried to put some words to those 8 notes and see what would it make us sing? Would we be singing something like, let's see, I love my dog, I love my cat? Do you think that would be kind of the emotion that would be behind those notes? I'm wondering. It sounded completely different. Some people might even say it sounded dramatic and dark. And I'm wondering if Beethoven was to put music to those words to that music, if maybe he was starting to feel like it wasn't fair that he was going deaf. And that's something that sometimes we say to our parents. It's not fair. And so I wonder if Beethoven was thinking it wasn't fair that he was going deaf, and he was maybe saying, it isn't fair. It isn't fair. Let's try thinking that. Maybe you can sing that this time, or think up your own. A completely different mood, isn't it? And I see some mad faces floating up there on the Facebook stream. That's a great emoji face to go with those notes. And then we had the beautiful melody from his Ninth Symphony, and which was completely different. And it was all about joy and hope and peace. Let's see if you remember this one. So that was a completely different mood of music again, wasn't it? And Beethoven wrote that music to a poem which was all about hope and joy, and it was called the Ode to Joy, a song for joy. And such a beautiful piece of music, and he used that to end his Ninth Symphony. And a lot of people say that he was trying to give hope and joy and find some good in the world, and he was hoping for peace and joy. So what a great song to be able to use for his very, very last symphony that he ever wrote before he died. All right, so I see that we have some more comments on here. Let me just take a quick peek and see. Oh, some people are still doing those big GIFs, so we don't want any of those, okay? Because that just takes up so much room on our chat feed. Okay, let's see who else. I think it's pretty much everybody has joined us here. I don't think there's anybody new. All right, so we are going to be doing a little bit of singing to finish off our class today, because we've been doing quite a few songs, and I think it's important for us all to sing every day, as well as to make music and to be listening to music as well. So I'm going to grab my guitar now, and let's see if we remember the song that we did, the planting song that we did for oats and beans and barley growth. So let's see if you all remember that one. So it's oats and beans and barley grow, oats and beans and barley grow. Do you or I or anyone know how oats and beans and barley grow? So let's give that a try, shall we? Oats and beans and barley grow, oats and beans and barley grow. Do you or I or anyone know how oats and beans and barley grow? Okay, first the farmer plants the seed. Sounds like a good first step to me. Here we go. First the farmer plants the seed, stands up tall and takes his ease, stamps his foot and claps his hand and turns around to view the land. And now we go back to our chorus. Off we go. Oats and beans and barley grow, oats and beans and barley grow. You or I or anyone know how oats and beans and barley grow. Okay, next step. Then the farmer watches the ground. Okay, here we go. Then the farmer watches the ground, watches the sunshine all around, stamps his foot and claps his hand and turns around to view the land. And let's do the chorus. We'll do it twice to finish off the song. You ready? Oats and beans and barley grow, oats and beans and barley grow. You or I or anyone know how oats and beans and barley grow. Oats and beans and barley grow, oats and beans and barley grow. You or I or anyone know how oats and beans and barley grow. Okay, that's great. So that was our planting song, which is great. I'm pretty sure that some of you may be planting flowers or vegetables in your gardens right now. So that's a great song for this time of year. And we're supposed to be getting a little bit more sun on Friday, but a little bit of rain in the meantime. So all that weather will help our planting of our seeds to grow beautiful plants and flowers. So it'll be great to see. It's going to be a very, very nice time when everything starts blooming and blossoming. Okay, so from that, we're going to move on to our Purple Light song. Remember, this one is also an echo song, so you can also sing the line after me, or if you think you know it really well, you can just go ahead and sing it at the same time I sing it. Ready? Purple lights in the canyon, that is where I long to be, with my 3 good companions, my guitar, my pony, and me. And remember, the last line we always sing together when we sing the guitar, pony, and me. Okay, next verse is the whippoorwill in the willow. Whippoorwill in the willow sings a song, a melody for my 3 good companions, my guitar, my pony, and me. Gonna hang my sombrero, gonna hang my sombrero on the limb of a tree for my 3 good companions, my guitar, my pony, and me. No more cows to be roping, no more cows to be roping, no more strays shall I see, just my 3 good companions, my guitar, my pony, and me. My guitar, my pony, and me. Okay, good. That's become a favorite, I think. So it's so nice to be able to go through some of our songs and just make sure we remember all the ones we've been learning. Okay, then we had that crazy song about the ears. Do your ears hang low? So let's see if you can keep up with this one. Remember, this is the one where we start slowly, and then each time we sing it, it gets a little bit quicker and a little bit quicker, and we have to be very careful we don't get our words all jumbled up and our tongues tied and twisted. Okay, so let's see how we do. So here we go. Do your ears hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? Can you tie them in a knot? Can you tie them in a bow? Can you throw them over your shoulder like a continental soldier? Do your ears hang low? Okay, that's the reminder. Let's do that all together one more time at that speed. Do your ears hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? Can you tie them in a knot? Can you tie them in a bow? Can you throw them over your shoulder like a continental soldier? Do your ears hang low? Okay, let's see how good you are. We're going to do it a bit quicker. So 1, 2. Do your ears hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? Can you tie them in a knot? Can you tie them in a bow? Can you throw them over your shoulder like a continental soldier? Do your ears hang low? Okay, that was pretty good. I think we could probably go faster though. Do your ears hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? Can you tie them in a knot? Can you tie them in a bow? Can you throw them over your shoulder like a continental soldier? Do your ears hang low? Let's try that again. I think we just about got the hang of that one. Let's see if we can do it that speed. One last time. Okay. Do your ears hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? Can you tie them in a knot? Can you tie them in a bow? Can you throw them over your shoulder like a continental soldier? Do your ears hang low? Okay, well, good for you if you managed to sing along with that and keep up with all of the fast tempos that we were doing as we went through that, then very, very good. All right, so we are at the end of our class for today. Just a quick reminder that Friday is a Pro D Day, so there won't be a class this Friday. And also Monday is Victoria Day. So then there is actually no school or class on Monday either. So we will be meeting again at the same day and time next Wednesday. And we'll be doing some more music on that day. But in the meantime, I hope that you all get a chance to go outside and enjoy the sun when it shines. Really great Victoria Day long weekend. And we'll look forward to seeing you all again next Wednesday. All right. Bye-bye for now.